I got that right. Stephen Durrence and myself, Jake Latondres. No one's here yet. So I'm going to tell everyone we're live on Instagram. And
better kill that.
Where are we at? Here we go. We are now live. Boom. There's 10 people. Just like that. I look down. There's 10 people up. Miss Caroline, good evening. Mr. Matthew.
Caroline's been keeping low profile lately. Down there hiding in Florida.
Where's she live in Florida?
I don't know. Who cares? When you go past that line, nobody really cares anymore.
Well, I mean, when I run into people from Florida, I ask them one of three questions: are you a gator, a Seminole, or a hurricane or a cane? Tells me
Miss
everything.
Caroline is a gator.
Whatever. 11 people. Okay, I'm gonna go to Facebook real quick and tell everyone they were live. We're just going to let people populate before we start all this. We got 11 people. You know, as soon as we get up to about 20 or so, we'll Oklawaha. Is that how you say that? Do you know, Stephen, where Miss Caroline's from? Is it Carolyn or Caroline?
Oklawaha. Obviously an Indian name.
That must be northern Florida.
Yeah, somewhere somewhere around like maybe Callahan, something like that.
I got you. That
north of Orlando.
I was going to say that name itself tells me that she is a Seminole fan.
Wrong, absolutely wrong. She is a gator.
Oh my goodness! My goodness! Oh my goodness!
Absolutely, orange and blue.
Oh my goodness! Well, 11 people. Let's see if I can make one more quick. Where am I at here?
Got Mr. Bush is in Alabama, Caroline's in Florida, Mr. Jeff's in South Carolina, and Grace is in Mississippi. So we hitting all the southern states at the moment.
We got
don't beat Leo this weekend. Grace, I can assure you, if I don't beat Mr. Leo this weekend, it's not for lack of trying.
You're leaving tomorrow morning, early tomorrow morning?
That's right. Help do a little bit of young dog work at the kennel and then hit the road, Jack.
What time are you leaving in the morning?
Like I said, I'm just gonna help some. I'm gonna help some young dogs. I'm gonna help some young dog trainers, and I have learned to be reasonably flexible because everything you plan on don't never really happen the way you want to anyway, right?
True enough. True.
I don't have a plane to catch, so I can hit out as soon as the work's done.
That's my disadvantage. Retriever connection. Here we go.
Now, you really could say Miss Caroline truly is a fan because she's still claiming to be a Gator fan as good as they've been the last few years. So you got to give her props there. She's loyal.
Yeah, I mean, I can sympathize. In fact, I don't really feel sorry for her that much because I'm a big Tennessee fan, and they've been worse for longer.
Missing Philip Fulmer for a long time.
Oh man, I think we got a good one now though, in Jeremy Pruitt. He's been recruiting like a rock star.
You mean you didn't like Lane Kiffin?
You know what? I can't say I don't like Lane Kiffin. I don't know that I trust Lane Kiffin with my wife.
Neither does Nick Saban.
Oh yeah, apparently not. Apparently not. We all got to deal with him now that he's at Ole Miss.
Oh my goodness.
I think is a really weird fit for him. He'll be in the Grove part.
That will be so sad to watch. And I'm sitting right next to a huge Ole Miss fan, so it'll be even more to pick on him about.
Are you from Mississippi?
Come back?
Is Owen from Mississippi?
Yes, indeed. Hey, they come rolling in like crazy, dude.
Oh, yeah, Miss Elaine. Come on now, Grace. Lumberjack watching from North Carolina. Alvin Rains. I haven't seen you on here yet, or if I did, I missed you, and I'm sorry. But welcome to the show. I guess we got 17 people. We can go ahead and start without further delay. Welcome back to the Retriever Connection with Stephen Durrence, and I'm Jake Latondras. He's the pro. I'm the am. He's really good at it. I'm not, and we're getting through this. We're gonna review. We're gonna do some. We're gonna go back, rewind, and do some reviewing on the down the shore blind work. We're gonna start out on the right side, shore to the right side, and then once we get through that one, we'll talk about moving over to the other side and having the shore down on the left side. And we make some different mistakes and some other new, some different things are going on, and we're going to get Stephen's critique on that. So, Stephen, I know you're headed out to the SRS in Nebraska tomorrow. What's going on? You're going to be in, I forget, is it in Lincoln or Omaha?
Same difference, right? I think it's Lincoln, but I'm sure we'll be in some remote area. So it's a long way. I think it's like 14 miles difference between going to Lincoln and then coming home from Red Wing, Minnesota. So we're literally going to drive straight east for a while after the first one and then head home. But with the Master National being canceled, it gives us a little bit of flexibility and leeway to do a little other stuff. So that's fine too.
Sure. Hold on. Let me start this one here. Oh, file size can't. Oh my goodness, that was a screw up on my part right there. Well, we can. I'm going to be listening. Okay, and I may look like I'm a little distracted because I'm going to do a little editing on this platform while we're talking and watching these videos. Excuse me. So I can upload these other videos. So I guess without further ado, do you want to get right into it? Let me show the map. The first.
Are you going to go ahead and do a quad screen, or are you going to stay on 3?
No, I'm going to do a quad screen. I just got to figure out which one's the right one.
I do definitely want to talk about a couple of things before we get into it. Just to kind of show how we're building off of our previous conversations.
Let me go back, rewind. Okay, so here's our quad. You want me to describe the pond? We're back at the brick pond. We'll call this the brick pond, and the other one is the L pond. I'm starting out in the lower left-hand corner. That's where the line is. The notorious post is in my way, but I wasn't going to allow it to get in my way this time. I just ignored it and took Tanner as close to it as I could, staying away from the bank and just trying to really challenge us to get past this post without too many issues. And then, start. And you'll see in the video, I did put you guys are going to be proud of me. I did put an X up where the bumper comes, I think within a few seconds of the video as it's rolling. And I did make it orange because it's an orange bumper. So that's the description of the drill. And what do you got going on there, Stephen?
I'm doing just a little bit of sketches to discuss. one of the things that we talked about this in down the shore water blind concepts way back. So I pointed out, one of the skills that we're trying to develop is the verbal cast toward the bank. The verbal cast toward the bank, meaning stay in the water. Silent cast toward the bank, meaning you can move toward the water, toward the bank. But I pointed out that this was about developing a verbal cast toward the bank, because you should already be able to stop the dog and give an angle cast toward the water and him want to cross the pond. So the point that I'm making is that I made that comment and I knew it flew right over your head. But the point to be made, go back to that red, please. Go to something different. Change the color. So the point that I'm making, one of the things that should have helped develop that willingness to cast across the pond at any given time is tune-up drills. So I just sketched out one right here, okay? But think about running this tune-up drill and how it affects your down the shore blinds. I could have run it from the exact same spot. But the point to be made is that anytime that Tanner goes to this bank, for example, right here, and you stop him and give an angle cast to open water, these concepts, and I'm not calling these old piles, but the point that I'm making is the concept of tune-up drills carries over to this point. So this is how we talked about developing, getting a big angle cast and a dog being willing to go to the other side of the pond. Running these types of tune-up drills affects that mindset, affects the dog's willingness to want to get out in the water and to seek the other bank. I also pointed out that you should already have your angle cast to water worked out before you're doing your down the shore water blinds. That all comes in to tune-up.
Wait, back up 5 seconds there. You should already have what?
Your angle cast to open water. Your angle cast to open water, your angle cast across the pond, those should be willingly there. Your dog should already want to cast off the bank if they get to it. And the point that I'm trying to make here is, look, if you think about the red lines as a drill that you have run in the past to develop a mindset toward the dog, if you look at the red lines, which blind should a school dog want to run first?
The first one.
Let's try again. Which line should, through doing these types of drills, which line should the dog gravitate to first?
The fourth one.
The fourth one being the one that runs from corner to corner.
Right.
That should be where his mind is. Maximum swim, looking for the big swim. That's what you're trying to achieve through tune-up drills, right? Mm-hmm. So that also transfers over into willing casting. When a dog reaches you could call it this point, you could say, well, what if he beaches right here? Then you got this cast. Oops, go to that there. You got this cast and this cast that you should be also able to get based off the tune-up drills that you've done. That's not just, don't bear in mind, I'm not just saying that there's only 3 casts you can get. I'm just pointing out that because of tune-up drills, you are developing a dog that's willing to jump in the water and cast across the pond at any time. It would not be out of the realm of possibility or intelligence if you were running. I do this on a regular basis when I'll have blinds set up, a down the shore water blind, and I'll all of a sudden stop them and cast them a huge angle cast different just to get a big, huge change of direction. I will have that blind set up so that you're essentially, when we're running your blind, your blue line blind, I may stop them at any point and say, all right, now cast over here, just for the sake of getting a directional change. That doesn't help you learn how to run straight lines, but it does help ensure that the dog's willing to change directions at any given time.
That makes me want to do that right now.
Yeah, I see the wheels turning. The point to be made, when we were calling and catching up on this thing just a few minutes ago, when you said, now what I'm missing is all the things that happened before all this. How did he get to this point? And this is part of understanding not just how the drills that you're doing help affect the word. You there?
Yep, you froze up there for a second. Maybe
Okay.
I did or you did.
Okay, am I back with you? You got 4 bars now. You ought to be fine. Come back to us, Jake. You there now?
I'm here now.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
I got a feeling somebody jumped on the internet.
I know.
Is that a
I got a
possibility?
feeling. Let's go because I'm still doing. I'm still trying to shift some of these little videos around while we're talking and listening. Like I said, I'm a little bit distracted, but I'm with you.
Okay. So I just wanted to lay kind of the foundation of how those tune-up drills also help dogs not just take lines across, but be willing to take a cast and go across the pond at any point in time. You with me now?
Yes,
All right.
sir.
Are you able to play your first video?
Yes.
Then let's do it.
I believe so. Whoops. Is it playing?
The dog's already well into the water. He didn't leave from your side.
I'm trying to figure out why. No. Come back here. May take a second for the delay. You can't see that, can you?
Come back.
Hang on.
Okay. Now we're talking. Now we're getting them ready to roll. Mr. Arnie was at my seminar this weekend. Good to see him. Miss Caroline's harping on the fact that she went through an 0-10 year. Now Miss Carol's down there cheering for the Hurricanes, enduring a similar problem, but that's good stuff. I hate to say it, but it's kind of fun watching the Florida team struggle for once. Because I grew up watching Steve Spurrier annihilate the entire SEC, and that's probably why. I mean, I got the chills just when I put this blue shirt on.
Then came Urban Meyer and Tim Tebow, and that wasn't any fun either.
It was still. I could admire Tim. I wasn't much for Urban, but it was just a whole different ball game. Steve Spurrier and his offense was unbelievable.
All right, here we go. You ready? I think we got it now.
I got a black screen. There we go. Yep.
There's your orange bumper, people.
That's great. You're so impressive, Jake. Tanner's looking for open water, and I think I heard a little whine. Yes, please. I'm not saying much because I'm kind of taking this one in, and we know how it obviously ends. That's the first one to the bank. There's a lot to talk about, but this is a really good job overall. All right, stop it right there, Jake.
Okay.
And roll back all the way to the beginning.
Okay. If it'll allow me to do that.
Hey, don't talk like that.
I may have to hide it and bring it back. Let me hide it and then bring it back. Okay. All the way back to the beginning, black screen.
Yep.
Now replay it.
Yes, please.
Okay.
So what he showed you a really good mindset here. Obviously this is pretty consistent for him. You're still not too close to, you're still not very far away from the edge of the water. However, you're working on getting him tighter. Stop right there. I would have not been opposed to you running from the other side of the post. Even though that would have tightened up your initial line, he is, as much as he's wanting to go to the big water, it would have given you an added element of difficulty on your entry. It would have invited him to cheat more. And even if it took you, let me get back to my screen. Even if it took you doing a line similar to this to start and then cast and then continue on, that's not the worst thing in the world. I mean, you don't want to run
anyway, right?
You obviously don't want to do this the whole way down. I mean, that's too skinny. That's not black and white at all. But it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if you had been. I know it don't look like much. If that's your true straight line, but you honored the blue line. You just took this, essentially you ran to right here and then changed your line just to make it a more interesting entry. It's so black and white right here. It would have given you something else to look at. I don't like that green line if that's running water on the edge, and I think it is. He's got to be far enough out that he can get his feet off the bottom. But don't be afraid to make that entry a little more gray, because right now he's taking that safe open entry. He is entering the water like his entry looks a lot like this. And then you do a little here. I got it. I see how I can make this thing work. And then another one here. Pack that one out. And then something like this. And I got to designate your whistle sets. I'm still learning this wonderful tool we got here. All right, so anyway, your initial line was ooh, that's not what I'm looking for. Back that out. Change to my okay. Okay, so your initial line was right here.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead and hit play. I'm going to try to interactively sketch this as you go.
Okay. That was the conservative approach on my part. I'm like, okay, I'm going to bunt. I'm going to get down this line, but I'm going to bunt the entry.
There you go.
Can I ask you a quick question?
All right, hit pause.
So when you whistle stop a dog in the water like that, what determines, is it the momentum that determines the direction the dog turns on the whistle to look back at you to tread water?
Sometimes some dogs are handed. They'll always turn one way. Some folks say that the way they turn in water, and I'm not necessarily 100% on board with this, that if they turn away from the bank, that they're trying to be good, and if they turn toward the bank, they're not. Most of it, I think Tanner is a dominant one-way type dog.
Most of the time.
So
not all the time, but most of the time.
And I'll tell you, this is one of my biggest weaknesses as far as this goes, because I'm a huge believer in getting a quick set over knowing what my dog's tendency is. I want my dog's tendency to be sit and sit fast, not saying, it takes 5 yards to turn one way or another. So it's one of the biggest things that I struggle with, and I have to keep notes on as far as how dogs, which way they turn, why they turn, blah blah blah. But most times, dogs have a dominant side to turn on, and which way they turn is their dominant way. But if you have an either way dog and they're turning away from the bank, that's usually meaning they don't want to go there. And if they're turning toward the bank, they do. The other thing that could have affected there, like you said, if you give a right-hand cast, they would have a bigger tendency to turn right on the whistle sit because their direction is taking them that way. If you give a left-hand cast, they have a greater tendency to turn left because if they are giving true directional change and crossing the line, then they would have a greater tendency to turn left. Does that make sense?
It does.
The way their momentum's taking them. But most times, it's a dominant hand issue.
Okay.
Okay. That was a good straight up cast. Cross the line with it.
I got another question.
All right, pause it.
So when I whistle, and if I inadvertently make my cast before I know that Tanner sees it and he doesn't see it and my arm is straight up, what's the right move to recast? Is it to come down with the arm and go back up, or what do I do?
You mean if you're moving so fast that he turns around and looks if you've already cast before he sees you?
Mm-hmm.
The first thing you need to do is realign Jake, because that means you're going extremely too fast. But obviously pulling your hand straight down is the right thing. If you have the wrong hand up and you think that he's going to cast off your motion, you can blow another sit whistle as you move.
Okay.
But usually straight up and down isn't nearly as influential as side to side movement.
Okay. So yeah. So I mean, without jumping the gun on him, sometimes I'll make a cast and I think he's already turned around and he's treading water and he's looking at me, and I'll make the cast and there's absolutely no reaction. And then when I pull my hand down, then whatever side that arm comes down, then he takes that as a cast.
Now, see, I would double check that comment, Jake. A lot of times when dogs don't take the cast that you give, it's not that they didn't see it; it's that they wanted to go the other way. So if you give a right hand straight up cast, if you cast right hand straight up, and he moves nowhere, and you move straight back down, and he casts left, that meant that he wanted to go left the whole time, and he was just freezing and hoping that you would change your mind or give him something that he could take advantage of. So pay attention. If he's moving on the side that you are moving on, i.e. if you're casting right and he's moving right, that's an honest mistake. But most of the time when you cast right and they go nowhere, and then you reset and they cast the opposite rotation. Remember, we talked way back about dogs thinking rotation. They're rotating right, they're rotating left. If you give him a right-hand rotation and he rotates the opposite way when you reset, he wanted to do that the whole time.
Got it. All right, I'm going to play.
You got an echo or something.
I do.
I thought it was. Now, okay. I think that was the money cash, right?
Yeah, that was. Oh, that was the end of that.
But I'm not mistaken. That might have been.
I think it was. So let me go.
Whether it was or not, we got a lot to talk about right there.
Okay.
So this was the second one that you got?
This is the second half of that.
Okay.
Same blind.
I mean, play it, but I'm pretty sure that this one's just him Rolling.
Uneventful.
If you don't blow a whistle pretty quick, we can know that that is definitely. This is where he saw the picture. Everything came together.
I thought I was getting to make one more cast.
That's a done deal, right?
Yep, done deal.
All right, so let's go back to your other video and let's diagram. I sketched it out right there on your screen. Let's see how relatable. I had to change colors to be able to dictate whistle set. Does that make sense?
Yep. So go back to the first one.
Yeah. If we need to have a video queued up, it'll be that one.
Okay.
So, all right, hit your pause. All right, so let's talk about what you did right and what you did wrong. What I like
drawing because that shows me from an aerial view what he actually did.
And I'm pretty sure that's pretty close to right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so first and foremost, what are we looking for out of this blind? What tool are we trying to shape? What is the big cast that we're trying to develop in this drill?
A straight back.
A straight back toward the bank or away from the bank?
Toward the bank.
And if we cast toward the bank and we use a verbal, what does that mean?
That means go straight back.
That means
don't
stay wet.
Okay, yeah, stay wet. Okay.
That verbal toward the bank means stay wet. So what cast did you end this blind on?
A back left because he actually touched the bottom on the last cast. I let him get too close to the bank, and I had to cast him with a back left, silent.
So if I'm looking at this, if I'm judging this blind, this thing looks really, really sporty. You had a couple of refusals up front, then you crossed the line at least 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and then you had a money cast that looked incredible. This is a really great competition blind, but this isn't the greatest training blind. And what I mean by that is you finished the last half of your blind, you ended on the cast that you're not seeking to give. Had he been on the opposite side, of the line and you gave the same cast and he did, oh, shucks, go back to that. Undo. Change the color of my line on accident. Go back. Okay, so we said that you made this cast and it's what he finished. Had he been on the opposite side of the line and you finished it from there, if you gave a right hand verbal and he carried that down the bank and did the exact same thing, psychologically speaking, the last cast you gave Tanner was away from the bank, was away from where a natural dog would want to go, not a trained dog. A dog following a natural response. It was beautiful in. It was great in, but you didn't end it on the money cast where you turn them into the bank with a verbal and then they choose to stay in the water. You with me on that? Go ahead.
So my thought at that time, and I recollect this, was okay, on this cast, when on the back right, I was going to let him get as close to the shore as I could, thinking he wouldn't touch, and then cast him back again. But by the time I blew the whistle, his front feet were already touching. So that's when I gave the back left. So I waited too long. I had it in my mind that I was going to cast him back with a back verbal right, and I let him get too close to shore and he touched.
Okay. I will disagree with you here. I'm not going to blame this on Jake. I'm not going to blame this at all on Jake in your decision-making abilities, because had Tanner truly been trying when his feet touched the bottom just that little bit, When you blew the whistle, he'd have jumped off the bottom and been treading water rather than happy sitting there. So I would venture to say, and now this is, you're going to say, Stephen, I can't believe you're saying this. This is super mean. Rather, at this point, when you gave that left hand beautiful back and he went so great, I would much rather you have given him a straight up right hand verbal and tried to make him over rotate and give essentially.
Would you have nicked him?
Not until he did wrong. That's where we're going to go back to what we talked about, how to fix this. But on this cast, if you were really schooling the cast, it would have looked like, okay, I got to change to a pencil. I can't.
I know what you're saying, and that scares the bejesus out of me. I'm like,
exactly right.
Straight down that shore, and I had such a nice line going. He's going to blow it.
And so when you stopped him right here, I would have liked to seen you rotate him this way and him, oh shucks, rotate him this way and him fight out. And then if you would have rotated him toward the bank and him go, no, my feet are touching, and him jumped out to swim in water and then swam down. Do you see the difference? You told him to look away from the bank and swim. I'm telling him to look at the bank and stay in.
I want to go do that right now, but at that time and watching you describe that to me gives me anxiety.
Okay, that's great, because here's the other side of it. You should have done it long before then. To ask for it at that distance, I can understand, oh my gosh, I just did orange and blue on top of one another. It looks like Caroline has infiltrated my spirit and I'm Florida again. All right. So you should have done it earlier. All right. Now, let me back this down and go back to the beginning of your blind. Let's say that the first 1, 2, 3 whistles that you did, the first two, at least 2 casts, the fact that you struggled is a good thing. At this point, up to right here in your blind, Tanner was actually struggling, giving refusals based off the right mindset. He was trying to stay in the water, and you were giving straight up casts. Remember, we talked about there's got to be a good side of the line and a bad side of the line. Tanner's showing you what he wants to have on the good side of the line. I don't mind, especially after that first refusal, if on this second whistle sit, if you gave more angle, hold on. If on this whistle sit, had you given a cast more like this to get him to cross the line, you might not have gotten that result. It might have been somewhere in this spectrum. It's okay to have to, if you're trying to have to give more cast toward the bank, that means that the dog's trying to stay in the water. Don't stick with your straight up cast right here. Cast him at the bank so you can invite the opportunity to get a correction.
I've wondered about that, but you know, it's probably conservative. And I was also thinking, all right, well, he's doing the right thing. He's staying on the good side of the line. He's seeking more water. How far shall I let him go before I whistle stop him again and just and recast and then stop? You know, I was, my gut instinct, you know, regardless of whether it was right or wrong, was telling me, okay, well, he's doing the right thing. Don't correct him yet, because he was trying to do the right thing. So I'm still, you know,
it's
2 weeks ago.
Okay, so you can't let him do the right thing as an excuse to avoid training. And so you need to hack him down more right here. You need to catch him, get him more online. Now, when you look at 2 of these casts are exactly what I'm talking about. Check this out. How cool is this? Watch this. Bam. Bam. You see how those angles, how he was willing to go? Those are the casts that I don't want to see in schooling this drill. I want those casts in a test. I want those casts in a hunting situation. But I don't want those casts if I don't have if you are scared to give this verbal back toward the shore and him turn and this cast at the end that we talked about, if you're scared of doing that cast, then you need to do it here. You need to do it here. You need to work on developing the cast, train for the cast, not just run the blind. So the first time, he said, I'm not going to go across the line. The second time, he said, I'm not going to go across the line. The third time, he didn't say I'm making progress towards the line and going to stay in. He didn't give you this response. He said, I'm going to the bank. Right? So at that point, when he's going to the bank, this is when training actually starts. This is when I'm okay with you either letting him touch the bottom or even get out.
That's what Grace just posed that question, and I thought about that too, going black and white like we talked about 3 or 4 weeks ago, but again, my momentum was just, trying to keep him in the water because I was trying to, it was like I was like playing bumper pool with him from left to right till he got on that line.
Exactly.
So that's
you won't. I would say if he gets out, if y'all will go back and review, and I'm going to do it right now. Never mind, you ain't got to go back and review. I'm going to remind you what my scenario is. If y'all are going to play with puppies, you're going to have to put her outside. I got Mama. That y'all worming or y'all recalling? Mama's over here having a fit because we're playing with puppies right by me. So the first time that he went to the bank.
Second, Stephen.
Sir?
Hey, close your ears for a second. Do y'all get nervous? Do y'all get nervous when you know Stephen's going to ask you a quiz kind of question?
I can answer that. I know a lot of them that don't.
A or an F.
So there's a lot. There's so much to talk about here. So the first time the dog went across, you stopped him quick and you cast him back. That was a great recovery cast. However, with Tanner's level, you could say if his feet are on the bottom, that is out. But if you really want to practice this, let him go ahead and get out rather than stopping him. Let him go ahead and get out. Instead of the red line, do the yellow line. The yellow line, which would let him go to the bank. Now, this is going to sound a little fuzzy, but think back in your thought process. What do I want to do right here? Do I want to give an angle cast towards the blind?
Where are you?
The yellow line that's on top of your red line. I'll let the dog go to the bank.
Okay.
Remember, what we're going to do right here is reschool. We're going to call back on the concept of swim by, which demands that the dog take a straight over, not an angle back. I want to see the dog jump in the water at this point. We're going to whistle him, and we're going to give him a verbal no. And then we're going to cast him back into the water across the line. Don't let him gain momentum back here. Don't let him follow the cast that you gave. Cast him across the line. And stop.
What if he does? You call him back, whistle him back.
You stop, You do whatever it takes to get him back on this side of the line. And then give a verbal right hand straight back. And ask for this. So what I'm getting here now through this redundancy of all these points this is where I will give you this much. This is where having the aerial and me being able to sketch it out.
It's huge. It's freaking huge, man. Because it gives all of us a visual as to what you're looking for. And so now looking at all these pickup sticks that you got drawn there, the mother cast is the verbal right hand back towards
correct.
That is
because if you're
working on the whole time, everything else is just tapping him into place, and then it's back.
Correct. Now, what are the possibilities that could happen when you stop him right here? Now, that's not entirely drawn to scale either. I'm okay with him being right here. Don't feel like you got to get so big across the line.
No, I understand. That makes sense, because you just want to get him back to the line, so you can establish that that verbal back cast as close to the water's edge, the shoreline, as you can while he's wet.
What I do not want to happen right here is for you to cast this dog and him to go anything in this spectrum.
Right.
I want him to come back across the line. You with me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So stop him there. Right hand verbal straight back. Here's the other side of it. He can either turn and go back. He may even turn and do this. I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm not okay with is if he does right back over here again. What happens when he does that?
You whistle him back to that point, start over?
Grace has got her hand raised right now. Ooh, 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 ooh. Remember, this is where we talked about working on an escalating scale of pressure. So the first time is a whistle.
I'm gonna let him out.
Verbal no, cast back in the water. If they go right back to the same spot again, when you give that right back, if they go over to the water again, to the bank again, whistle sit, no, nick, straight overcast, back out into the water again. Oh, I don't like that one. Straight overcast, back out into the water. Again, same cast. So get them back out into the water again, and then ask them again for a right hand verbal toward the down the shore. If he goes back a third time, then it would be whistle, no, either a higher nick or a continuous until he doesn't go back to that bank. It's always a freebie being no. Remember, no brings back concepts of swim by. It reminds them that swim by is a very important thing, or even though they're not swimming by, that no means get in the water, get straight back out, and then you want to rotate him toward the bank. You don't want all this pretty zigzag over here yet. You don't want the zigzag until he doesn't want to go to the bank.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Until his whole, let's see if I got something. Until his whole blind looks like this. That's not a curve, people. Undo. Hold on. Maybe I can do a pencil. Until his whole blind looks like this, and you're having to continually cast toward the bank, and he doesn't want to come across, and you are continually fighting him to the bank, and he's not giving you that default at any given time. He's going to the bank, he's going to the bank, he's going to the bank. Then you don't want to take it. You don't want to start getting these good angles to the bank until he doesn't want to go there, and you're having to tell him to go there, not him just bail out at every opportunity.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
So going back to our money cast down here, where you did it on a left hand cast, and I said do it on a right hand cast. Had you been practicing that concept from here, you'd have been much more comfortable trying it down here.
Yeah, that I can see that clearly now.
But this is how we school down the shore water blinds. We're not giving angle cast off the bank. Angle cast off the bank are tune-up drill concepts. We're looking to school. Silent cast toward the bank means you can get closer. Verbal cast toward the bank means you turn toward the bank and don't get out. And preferably don't get out and don't get your feet on the bottom. So you're running, when you look at what you did, it's incredible compared to what to what you were. But it's running a good blind for exercise and control, but not running a blind with the thought process of refining a cast that will be useful for you in the future. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I want to go do it right now. I mean, I totally get it. And I guess, the way I'm looking at it from a student's perspective now is, okay, these building blocks and progressions are they're stacking up, and I am where I am. And now I realize, okay, what I was missing, and call it ignorance or whatever, what I was missing was truly understanding that the cast that I want to make stick is that verbal back towards the shore. And so now I go back out and run this along a different shoreline, and I've got a completely different mindset now, for sure.
So
On what I'm going to be focused on.
do you understand? Do you have a much better understanding now of how to school that cast? The first time is just a no. The second time it's a no with a nick. The third time it's a no with a higher continuous. You with me on that?
100%. Should I let him do it on purpose next time I go out?
What do you think?
What do I think? I think not. I think because I
Absolutely. I mean, you need to get some good teaching in here. And the more he's dry, the drier he is, the harder it is to get him back in the water, and you will gain a lot more. The key is do not let him gain momentum down that shoreline. Where he gets out needs to be where he gets in and go straight back across. Now,
okay.
One other thing to ask real quick. You get in this conflict the very first time he went to the bank, and you work on it, and all of a sudden the sky's open and the angel starts singing, and he takes he takes this cast, and everything's so beautiful, and then he gets here, and then he dives to the bank again. What correction does he receive? So you got in a wrestling match in your first whistle set. Then you got the cast you wanted, and he got to this point, and he bails to the bank again. What correction does he receive?
A no, a whistle set, a no, a nick, and an over?
No. Absolutely not. Because he gave you progress.
Okay.
He gave this violation is not that violation. It is a new spot, and therefore it is a new beginning.
Okay.
It's a whistle set, verbal no, over, and the same process starts all over again.
Got it.
When it gets habitual, if he's doing it all the time, then we can skip the no freebie. But you do not, when he gives you progress and starts making progress and goes to a whole nother location and gets sucked over again, you do not go immediately to pressure. Collar pressure, that is. You just go through the whole teaching process again.
Okay. See, what you just did to me was a no over. Then you let me go down
this whole thing is a no over.
No. You just did that to me, Stephen.
So
now I'm glad you asked me that, because that clarifies that as he makes progress, even a repeated mistake is a new beginning.
Correct. If he makes progress down the way, you got to give him the benefit of the doubt. All right, guys, if anybody's got questions on this, you better ask it quick, because we're about to jump to the next video, because there's no need to watch. Don't you agree, Jake? I don't think there's anything more in this one.
Yeah. I want y'all to give me like 15 seconds here. I need to what am I going to do here? I got to transfer. It might freeze up just for a little bit, but don't go away. I got to do this. It might take 15 seconds. It might not do anything, but it might. Whoops.
So
I just want to get I want to get the process of one uploading, the third one, and the second drill, so that we have that, because it's a return. It's just a return swim, but there's some important questions in there that I want to ask. So I got to get loaded up here.
All right. I'm
Okay.
also going to try to figure out how to, I'm going to try to get this other picture pulled up. Let's just say we're going to save that for now, just to be safe. And we're going to the L-shaped pond, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Whoops. Okay, this would be right, left. Okay, left down the shore blind 3. That's what I'm getting at here. 3B. Okay, let me start this upload. Bada bing, bada bing, bada bing. Okay, we can continue.
Okay.
So,
Talk to me about, can you see my picture again?
yes, sir. So I'm going to pull that in. In 1 second, it'll be up. Bingo. Then I'm going to pull this one out. Now we're going to go, where are we going to go? Show and stream.
All right.
Okay.
Tell me where we're at.
We are at,
where we're starting at and where we're going.
we're starting at the left, upper left corner of the pond.
Uh-huh.
We're running left, left to right with the shore on the left this time, all the way down to the end of the pond, the channel.
All right. Is my cursor where the blind was?
That's where the blind is, correct. It's a little up. It's up from there, but yeah.
Wait a minute. It's going to have to be. But I'm trying to get.
Yeah.
So is it more down the channel?
Oh, it's actually, the angle will be the other way. So start up like where the line is. Keep going.
Hold on a second. Tell me where you ran from.
Keep going up. Probably right in there somewhere. I mean, I literally was threading the needle on those points. Yeah, I don't know how.
That's not it.
That's so weird to me because
There you go.
something like that. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Pretty close?
Yep.
Okay. Good.
Okay, we ready?
Yep.
Here we go. There's a delay because that other video is uploading.
I'm making your screen bigger anyway so I can see it. Now that X has got you going over the point.
And we don't. But that is where the bumper is.
Got it. Now I like that. Okay, stop right there. Okay, did you see that time you gave a verbal back the first time and he over rotated to stay in? If you'll go back just like 5 seconds and watch your cast, he actually did exactly what we wanted to do. Now he wasn't truly down the shore yet, but pay attention to how your verbal affected him. You accidentally did something right. That's pretty cool.
I hate when I do that. I'd much rather be right deliberately.
Now it looks like he's going. Now you see how he gained water. He turned toward the line and then he gained water. So stop again.
Yeah.
Stop again.
And so,
When I see a dog do that, when I give a verbal toward the bank and they turn the right direction and gain water, my next cast is going to be silent because he's showing you he wants to stay in. Therefore, I'm going to have to be silent and maybe even give a little bit of angle toward the bank to get directional change, because he showed you right there that his desire was to stay in. Good boy. Let me see if I can pull up my, okay. So I won't have to do this. I can't do this on a vector line. I'm going to have to do this with, okay. So he jumped in the water and gave you a pretty decent line. Let me see if I can make that line bigger. Yes, I can. He gave you a pretty decent line, and you stopped him right here, whistle sit, and he turned toward the line and then started to gain water again.
So I got a question about that. See how your line is parallel to that point? Was he truly going for more water, or was he following the contour of that point?
I don't think he was following the contour, because, like I said, when he rotated, he got toward the line, and then rather than saying it's the point, I'm going to take the credit and say he heard you give a verbal, and he knew he had to go towards the bank. I mean, he had to go towards more water. He heard that verbal, and you gave the verbal the right way, and that made him say, oh, that's water. Now, the other argument that could be made is that this is how all your down the shores have looked. If you go back and look at all our different sketches, that the first 2 or 3 casts, he's trying to be good tanner. So you could say that. However, the difference in this cast and your other blind is that you gave a verbal the first time, and he went for more water. So when I see them rotate like that and go for more water, my next cast is going to be silent, because he's showing I want to stay in, and I'm going to stay silent until he goes for that bank. And when he goes for the bank, then we're going to go through the tweet, no, over, cast it across the line, tweet, left hand verbal, and see if he will give you that exact same cast he just gave you there after he wanted to go to the bank.
So what I did on that first blind that we ran, I didn't have enough verbals. And on this one, as you'll see, I had too many. And there was I was giving him, in my opinion, I think, and I want you to, obviously critique it going through this, but I think I was stuck on giving that verbal back towards the shore when he was too far away from the water. I should have been casting him towards the line, towards the shore, the suction, and then giving that verbal back, right?
So based off what you said, your blind should look a whole lot like this right here. If you're giving that verbal and he's overreacting, and now I haven't seen this blind, I have no idea what it looks like, but it should look like he starts to go in and you give or he's out here and you give a whistle sit and he casts towards it and then takes more water. And you stop him and you cast him toward it, and then he hears that verbal and he takes more water.
Okay. Maybe I accidentally did something right again.
Let's see. That was great. Now, that was not whistle. That was not the response he should have given. When you stopped him that time, he crowded across the line, and you stopped him, and then you cast him back. That verbal was the inappropriate response, and now you can understand why. It was a great blind for running a blind in a competition, and even a great hunting blind. But what I'm looking for you to develop is that verbal stay in.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Let me ask you this. Do you think when I gave him that cast and he sucked into that point, it was because of the point? Not that it matters, because either way it's the shore and it's dry and it's black and white. But if that would have been a straight line down that shore, you think he would have done the same thing?
Maybe. I would say so. I would put this even more. I would say, had this been a competition and a mark had fallen on that point, the fact that he's that willing to go there without any suction, he would have been up there, dancing a jig on that point when you're trying to stop him and get him off of it. So we're looking at suctionless blinds as far as additional suction being added. and he was that willing to go to that bank that early in the blind. That tells me he's a little bit too bold, a little too brave right here. All right.
I just read Miss Elaine's comment.
I hadn't seen any of those. I had covered them up. Wow, it blew up.
Jake, Stephen has been training me for 8 years. My answers are still wrong the majority of the time. He just asked me because he knows I don't know.
In case you don't know, Miss Elaine owns Mason, who is, got 4th at the Crown this past year. That's her dog. So he can relate to being.
I think I learned that like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and every time I see Elaine's name on Facebook or wherever now, I think of Mason. Okay, ready?
That verbal right hand cast. What was that? And now we got a whistle refusal. Now he's overreacting to that verbal. See, I'm hearing whistling. I think there's a delay.
There must be.
That was a great cast. That was a great cast right there.
Which one?
The last.
Okay.
That last. He gained out in the water. You stopped him on the line, and you gave a silent left hand straight up, and he didn't just try to bail to the bank. He tried to be a little bit more watery. That was nice.
I want to go back to it because I think I was on the delay too, and I missed it.
See, that verbal was misused. It's too wide. That was. See, I'd give him more of an angle right here.
Okay.
There you go. He's trying. That was the one I really liked right there.
I got you.
Hey, you remember those last 2 or 3 casts? Remember what I said your blind should have looked like? It's starting to look like it. He had a little bit of trash up here.
That's why I thought I was doing something. That's why I said, okay, well, maybe I accidentally did something right.
Jeff asked a question. That's a good question, Jake. If your dog's reluctant to tighten up to the bank, do you do anything to handle it other than attrition? I don't like to start putting pressure in the dogs in the water yet. At some point, if the dog's habitual, then yes. But if they're giving you refusals to go towards the bank, that's a good thing. I would rather you give more angle or step on your cast toward the bank to help start moving them in, but don't burn them in the water right now, because I mean that's the whole point of this is we're trying to teach them to respect the bank, not to fear it. And in order to do that, you've got to have a side that they can win on. The dog's got to be able to win over here. It's to some respect, whether it be the fact that it can make progress and then push away. It's got to be able to do something over here. If it starts feeling pressure over here and then over here, you're going to have a dog that wants to either not go out or just do nothing but just hide over here, essentially, assuming that that's bigger water. They won't want to challenge it at all. So you got to leave something in it for the dog. That was a good question.
He got, if I'm not mistaken, he got it after the second time he went, he started to bail to shore, and I cast him back to the right. That's when he decided he wasn't going to go back to shore.
The big difference on this blind is you finished it with a left-hand cast. You finished both blinds with a left-hand cast. One of them was rotating it away from the bank. The other one was rotating it toward the bank. When you're rotating toward the bank and they're finishing the blind that way, then you were schooling a cast that is unnatural. That makes
Stop.
sense.
It does. And so we've got to watch the end of this because there's I do give an angle back at the end because the bumper's up to the left around that point, kind of. And I wanted to ask you if that was the proper cast.
Okay.
And then on his swim back, he swims back wide. And I wanted to ask you if that is appropriate and acceptable, or do I need to bring him back to the line, the original line on the swim back, or at least close to it?
Go ahead with it.
Handling. Okay. Hide. I'm always afraid I'm going to click the wrong one. Stream. Here we go. Oh, wait.
That looks right.
Yeah, that's right.
He's doing a good job. I mean, you're accidentally doing it, but you're still doing a good job, Jake. You got to give credit where credit's due. Now, see how he gave you not enough angle there? It's okay to stop again and give more angle toward the bank. If you're having to beg them to go toward the land, then that means that you're doing something right.
I feel like he was doing something right. See, there you go. That's what I meant right there.
Okay, that was honest effort. Okay. And it wasn't. Here's the key to that, Jake. It wasn't that he didn't see you cast the first time. He did. You just had him pinched in a decision point, and he was trying to double make sure he had done the right thing before he took off. So he didn't try to take advantage of you there. He was just trying to make sure he was doing the right thing.
Okay, that's really, really good to know because I had no clue.
See, that wasn't that you cast too quick. The other
did
thing,
I do the right thing?
Go ahead.
Did I do the right thing there?
Yeah, you didn't do anything wrong. Let me ask you why he did that. Why was he a little bit concerned about that cast?
What, because of that point?
Exactly. Exactly.
If he took that cast, he was going to run into that point and do something wrong.
No, not if he took the cast. But land was progressing toward him, and he felt. Okay,
sorry,
my picture. Land was progressing toward him at that point. If you look at your line, you can see how that point is growing out. And you had him kind of walled in because if the shore is a no-go zone, he's looking at this like a really tight hallway, a really tight corridor.
Threading a needle.
He'd have much rather you cast him out here. And so when you gave that cast rotating toward the bank, he said, let me make for 100% sure where I'm going before I take off, because I know that this is a spot where Stephen would have put me in and then asked me to rotate it and stay in.
Okay. I get that.
Okay.
I really put the blind in the wrong spot.
I wouldn't say so. If I'm not a bit upset with that. That was a good, the reason being, I wouldn't necessarily want him to get up on that point yet, but later in life, I might put him up there. And one nice thing about
watch this.
That's the kind of cast I'm A-okay with you giving. See, he's trying that. Let's put this a different way. If Tanner was trying to go out of sight, as soon as he went past that point, he would have bailed left to try to get out of sight. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Knowing my dog, yeah, that makes sense.
Now, two things could be going on here, because this is where you said you wanted to watch the dog swim back down the middle, right?
Hold on, I'm going to pause it and let it catch up for a second because I think it's a little bit delayed.
In your last video, one thing we didn't touch on, your other down the shore is where he circled and tried to come down the bank, and you exercised swim back, and you did a pretty good job at it. I would encourage everyone to go back and look at the end of that video on Instagram or wherever. The other point of this as well is that both times what put Tanner in trouble and what actually put Tanner in the water might have a lot to do with the fact that when he picks up, he circles right to get in the water. That's a possibility. You know, when he picked the bumper up and circled right on the first blind, it put him going down the shore. That time he picked up the bumper and circled right and went to the water.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So is that based on which way when he finally saw the bumper, the blind, is that all based on momentum, or was that a decision he made?
It could be either one. I mean, if it was based on momentum, based on the way he came out of the water, he should have circled left.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see.
I think it's more the fact that just is the way that he picks up and circles to come back.
Like, okay.
You with me so far?
Yep.
All right, let it play.
So this one's about done. The next video is the one that shows you there you go. Okay, that one's done. Right here.
Is that what his line looks like?
He gets a little bit wider than that. He's like just slowly sliding to his left.
So, and your question is what?
Well, my question is the swim back is the swim back line important, and what's acceptable and what's if it's important, then what's unacceptable?
Okay.
Sleep on me now.
Yeah, like I told you, there's busy and then whatever I've been lately. So the question is the swim back line is the swim back line important? Absolutely. You're darn tootin' it's important. That being said, a lot of times when dogs are learning down the shore concepts, they will. You remember I said on this blind, if the dog spends all the time on the outside of the line and you're fighting to cast them toward it, then the dog's doing a good job. That even if they don't necessarily cross it perfectly, if they fight if you're having to fight them toward the line, what a lot of times will happen is when the dog picks it up, let's say you spent the whole time, let's say your blind ugly and dirty look like this. And if you'll remember way back when you started doing down the shore water blinds, you had a tendency to lose your dog at the end to big water. He'd all of a sudden start pushing out. If this dog ran that line back and then swam back on the blue line or the purple line, I got zero issues with that because they're learning, that it's okay to be there. Now, what Tanner did when he swam something close to this red line, he knew that there was no way he could swim to the left of the blue line and be safe because he'd be on the bank. He also knew that that line itself was somewhat problematic, so he chose to get way out and be safe. So the answer to your question is, whenever a dog chooses more water on the return, I am not going to actively cast them to less water because they are choosing what is an unnatural line. They're choosing what also is a schooled line. And he's saying, hey, man, the middle of the pond's safe. I'm just going to swim back down the middle. I will never ask a dog to do anything differently than that when they're choosing that on their own.
Okay.
You could also make a strong argument that he did what he did there because of the correction that you gave when you gave him the swim by on the previous down the shore blind. he got caught on it. He had to swim farther, and he said, "I'm not playing that game again." Jumped down the middle and swam back.
Right. I get that. All right. So where we are now is I have two. I do have one more down the shore blind where I did a little bit differently, and I ran Tanner through the edge of some cattails just to kind of challenge him and myself a little bit more to see what he would do. But I'm going to have to upload that. So we're probably going to have to just have some discussions about these other lessons that we learn while I upload these videos.
Okay, two things then. One, Lumberjack Waterfowl is asking some off the wall stuff as part of what we've been doing. You don't use collar pressure on the line when you're starting marks with dogs. You don't. It's confusing. You use physical pressure to steady. No nicks at all right now. There should be a physical aspect to steady. Number two, while this is uploading, Jake, you have not asked the question that you asked me earlier today that I wouldn't answer. Remember, I told you to put 2 stars beside 2 questions that you had, and you have asked one, but you have not asked the other one.
That was if I get was it on the first blind or the second blind?
I don't think we were talking about either one site specific, but you asked about this swim back, and I guess it would be on the first one.
So if I should cast him.
Hold on a second. You froze right there, Jake.
Cast him back.
Okay. Hold on a second. You're chopping. I don't know if your computer's working or what. Hold on.
Did I lose you there?
Yeah. Okay. You're back. Talk to me.
Was it that? Do I cast him back to the line and then bring him back?
Nope.
Nope.
It wasn't about what you were casting. It was about how you were casting.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so
that one.
So one of my observations that I didn't know if what the answer was, but I wanted to ask Stephen was, so one of the things I noticed about Tanner is when I give a slow cast back, he tends to loop, and it's a much wider loop when he gives me that cast. When I go faster and straight up, I mean, they're both straight up, but one's slow and then the other one's fast, he tends to come out of the water more and give me a 180, a straight back. And so my question,
define 2 or 3 part water more. So flesh that out a little bit more.
His head comes out and he goes straight back. Instead.
All right, you coming back? You there?
I'm back.
You said his head comes out and he goes straight back, and that was all we heard.
Yeah. So if I slowly. Again, dadgummit.
Saying you got 4 bars.
Are you with me? Can you hear me? Okay. So let me back way up. So on a slow, deliberate cast, he just swims and loops around.
Mm-hmm.
When I give him a quicker, accidentally much quicker cast, he tends his head comes out of the water and he spins straight back. So my 2 or 3 part question there is, do I want the quicker 180 response, or am I okay to use that loop to my advantage or his advantage sometimes, knowing if I give him a slow cast, he's going to loop around to get him back to the line where I want him. Does that make sense? Am I asking the question?
Yeah, I'm on board with you. And this is super duper intuitive. This is super good observation on your part. in that this goes back. And remember the discussion we had on how you cast, why you cast, as far as avoiding looking like prey, as in looking like you were calm and assertive. And I said you need to cast in a calm, assertive manner. You need to avoid rapid movements. That being said, there are times for rapid movements. And what you are describing is when you talk about giving that fast, straight back cast. You said that his head comes up and he turns really fast. You could maybe even, what if you use the word frantic almost when you give that cast? Is there any panic there? Is it franticness, or is it almost like it's a reaction, like you were hitting him with your hand and he's spinning so quickly, as opposed to thinking about what he's doing and making a collective decision?
I think it's more of a reaction than it is a thought, but it's almost like he's mocking my speed.
Look at what Mr. Lane just wrote.
So he responds to the quick cast with an equally energetic response. Exactly.
So
he's mocking me. He's reading my energy level, right?
Think of dogs kind of like mirrors. They're reflecting what you're giving. And I have a tendency when I cast toward the bank to and move a little bit quicker to rotate them. But the other thing that you got to think here is that if dogs are reflecting your motion, the slower you cast, and this is the reason why I emphasize this, the slower you cast, the more the dog sees the cast that you are giving.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
The longer the longer he looks at you, the more he's saying, okay, I need to think about this cast, not just react to the first hiccup that I see. Because there's a difference between intentionally and moving a little quicker. There's a difference between intentionally doing that and just as a general response to casting, being all over the place. When you start
kind of like
a rapid and erratic, then they can't listen to you. But when you intentionally do it in a selected spot, that makes a huge difference.
Okay. So it's kind of like that. It reminds me of that backpedaling cornerback drill where your coach goes,
yes, exactly. And you're supposed to rotate exactly
straight back.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it reminds me of.
Where DBs are doing the same thing. They're reflecting the way that you're holding the ball.
And they're mirroring the quarterback. That's cool stuff right there. Okay, so I do have the first part of the cattail video up. Do you want me to take 30 or 40 seconds to get the second part up so we're done with that? We don't have to mess with it.
Sure.
Let me do.
For once, we're getting through these videos in good time.
Right.
I'm assuming. Do I have an aerial of this picture or not?
Yeah, we're back at the brick pond.
Hold on 1 second. I got somebody saying good night.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, Wade. Everybody sees your honey. Tell them night-night. Don't touch it. Can I have a kiss? Night-night. So we're back at the brick pond, you said? Oh, boy. That means that I bet I'm going to have all kind of stuff that I don't know how to get rid of when I look at your brick pond. Open with paint. Yeah, see, I got all this good stuff saved on here now. And we just going to have to deal with what we're dealing with.
So responds to the quick cast. Are there any other questions while we're waiting on this one to this one's uploading, so that's good. I don't have the swim back on the third blind, but
I
it
think
was pretty honest actually.
I'm pretty sure we
So-
got that covered. So tell me where we are this time.
So we're on the brick. We're on
Got
the
that.
brick pond, and we are on the upper. Where are you? Do I need to bring your map back in, or you?
I
gonna
just
bring
gave it back
in?
to you.
Oh, there we go. Show and stream. 1 second. Boom. And then we're gonna hide that one. Okay, so we are in the upper right-hand corner of the pond, and we run back to the upper left-hand side. It's totally opposite. Everything's on the right this time. Well, it's the same thing. Right-hand shoreline, opposite direction.
Working on it. So something like that. Too tight.
No, that's probably about right.
All right.
Okay. Make sure I got this one here. Show and stream.
I like it.
Hang on, let me let it catch up to itself. That other one's still uploading, so it's
Good.
going to be a delay.
Since you said that, I'm looking at your line. It needs to be just a little bit. Trying to give myself a little bit of room to breathe here.
Okay.
Does that look pretty? Yeah.
So what I wanted to do was run him through these cattails. Of course, there's rocks coming out of that inlet right there, and I want him to go. The rocks extend down into those cattails. So I just shot him through the dead part of those cattails to see what would happen. I had no clue what was going to happen. I just did it.
How honest of you. That should have been silent with just a little bit more angle. See how he gave you the cast that you asked for.
Hold on. See if that other one's still uploading.
So that again. We talked about getting more cast out of less. This is not the time. When you're casting towards the bank, you don't want more cast out of less. You want more cast out of less if you're casting left. If you're giving a left-hand cast here and he's giving you more angle, that's great. If you're giving a right-hand cast here and he's giving you more angle than you asked for, that's not. So the very first cast that you gave should have been a little bit more angle. The second cast, he's being pretty honest. Got a little echo. See, that should have been a little more.
A little more angle?
Yes, sir. That should have been more angle. Your second whistle, he does a lot better job here. But I would have preferred to see him closer to that line and you getting that cast at that point. Now, see, that was wrong. Stop right there. Which side of the line are you on? Left or right?
Him? He's on the left side of the line.
Has he been to the right side of the line yet? So
No.
you should not have used a verbal there because you're not to the line even. You don't even need to use a verbal because what you just told him was a straight up and a verbal. That means, do you understand now?
Oh, yeah. So I told him I wanted him to go to the right, and what I told him to do was just keep going with what he was doing.
Or even go farther left. Because if he thought he was in the danger zone right there, he may over-rotate.
So here's a complicated question for you. Probably not complicated for you, but so am I teaching him something when I do? If you didn't tell me this stuff, you didn't have the answers for me. Would I be teaching him? Would I be undoing what he has already done, and I'm teaching him something different?
You remember what I told you about you can't break my dog?
I know. That's why I'm asking you. That's why I'm re-asking you that. No?
No. I mean, all you're telling him is you don't know what you're talking about.
He knows that.
That's what I'm saying. When you do something like that, he's going, ha, ha, ha. You're not going to hurt him. I mean,
Okay.
with what you're doing right here, he's just feeling out this, as Jake figured out this thing out yet. He's looking for you to catch up.
Okay.
Now that cast was wrong.
That was wrong?
No, excuse me. I'm sorry. It wasn't that you did wrong. It was that he did wrong. That time you gave a verbal cast and said back, and he said, let me see if I can go to the bank. That's where right now, let him go. And
let him get dry.
Let him get dry, or at least let him get his feet on the bottom. For you right now, I would like to see you keep your feet on let him get dry for y'all's practice and application of this. Is that somebody fishing on the other bank?
Yeah, I got a story about that.
That is freaking amazing. I mean,
wait till you hear the story.
Now that was much better. So you gave the right hand verbal that time, and he rotated and stayed in. You gave him the minor correction. Hit the pause for just a second. When he bailed for the bank and you stopped him before he got out, and you gave the left hand cast out, that's a minor correction. A much more minor correction than what I'm asking you to do. So you gave him the minor correction, and then he showed you the appropriate behavioral change after the minor correction. He said, oh, wait a minute. The next time you gave a verbal cast toward the bank, he did try to stay in. So he's showing you adjustment, even though you're correcting him in a less than perfect manner. Go ahead now.
Back. Back.
Let's see, there was another bad cast. Left hand.
The left.
No, the right hand verbal, and he went to the bank, and I think it was frustrating because it was like 2 or 3 casts right there back to back.
Mm-hmm.
He was just trying something different.
Okay, so that's last one.
So he's online right here. Is that correct?
Correct. That was it. I don't think I had to cast him again.
Which is not. Was your last cast of right hand or a left hand?
I think it was a right verbal back.
You think or you hope?
No, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a right. Yeah, because when he came off the bank, he got too far out in the water, and then I gave him a verbal. He's starting to suck in again, and then I let him get close enough, and I gave him a right back verbal.
So that was the way that I wanted you to end the first blind. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Now you just know the method behind what you accidentally did. So,
but yeah. So
go ahead.
So I was going to tell you the story real quick before we get into this. I walked all the way down there to that X, dropped the orange bumper, and 2 kids showed up. Those 2 kids fishing, and I said, "Hey, man, are you guys going to fish down this bank or that bank? Because I'm going to run my dog down this bank unless you want to fish it, and I'll move to the other side." And they said, "No, we'll move down there. We'll move to the other side." So I dropped the bumper and walked all the way back down here to where the line is, and those 2 kids went down there and started fishing right there in that corner. So I sat there for 20 minutes thinking they were going to cast a few times and then move, and they didn't. So I walked all the way back down there, grabbed my bumper, moved it all the way over to the other side of the pond, and we were going to run that bank opposite direction. So I run all the way back down to the other end, and they moved over there and started fishing in front of the bumper. And so that's what I have to deal with in suburbia. But at least I have my pond, and it worked out.
I tell you
And those
what,
kids were the whole time.
that it's more impressive that he's training in those kind of scenarios with that extra suction. That's awesome. But I mean, other than what we pointed out, I mean, like I said, the ending of this blind was way better. I liked it a lot more. Again, your last cast was shucks. Hold on. Your last cast was that rotation rather than this rotation. So you could really see him turn into the bank, choose to stay in the water, and it looked 10 times better. Y'all are cleaning things up by accident. I just want you to work a little bit more on developing and shaping that extra cast and tightening everything up. I'm almost played out on this, Jake. You're getting too good. It's almost like I might have a few other tricks up my sleeve to keep you engaged. But
well, I need some homework. I can't do it tomorrow. I do have a couple of other videos in the can that we did, knowing we were both going to be out of town over the next week or two. So
let's take next week off because you and I are both going to be on the road. And let's also get you to run a couple more blinds like this that we're going to touch on later the right way, shaping that cast, really focusing on that verbal cast into the bank. We're almost going to have to start moving some other things, which is going to challenge you in a lot of different ways, Jake.
I'm looking to it.
But, I mean, the progress is impressive.
We appreciate all the feedback, all the questions. Your coaching ability. I talked to Field Life for Dogs and Shannon both over the past couple of days, and both had remarked about your coaching and teaching ability. And obviously I couldn't do this without that. So, thank you again. Paul Donhauser, is that how I say that name?
Yeah, he's got a terrible yellow dog that has terrible line manners. It's all his fault.
So, yeah, I'm hoping Stephen Durrence can expand on that no collar pressure on the line during Mark's comments sometime, etc. At what point might the collar pressure back to the holding blind for a creeping dog be appropriate?
Yeah, we're not going to give him that answer. We'll make him watch a few more times.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a little bit that's a tangent.
Not only is that a tangent, that's a whole nother can of worms. Paul's got a really, really nice dog that ran the show for a long time. He and Tanner have a lot in common, except you can get on a judge pretty good, and he'll let you know that that's enough. He'll give you that low growl of, hey, I got some input in this too. I had never seen Tanner show any kind of alphaness, other than in his work. He's not a mean dog. He's just as happy as he can be. And Paul's dog's not mean either. He just doesn't want you raining down on his head without having any input himself.
Tanner's like that. He's when he's at attention, he's very attentive, and he's all muscled up. He's intimidating to people because they think, man, is this dog coming after me? When he's just walking over to him, really, he's going to lick him to death. But at the end of the day, I mean, he's a big baby, or at least to me, he is, and he just takes pressure like it's a thump. It's a thump to his shoulder blades, just boom. That's
exactly
it.
Right, and that's what we were talked about so much this weekend in our basic seminar. I said, guys, if it looks like in all different types of ways, whether it be rope, whether it be collar, whether it be electric, if it looks like we're doing a lot of pressure on these young dogs, if it feels like we're doing a lot of pressure, it is. I said that is the point of all this, is we are pressure conditioning these dogs so that they understand how to appropriately modify their behavior for the rest of their life. We're trying to do the work now that is going to prevent them from excessive pressure from the rest of their life. So we're not doing excessive pressure in basics, but we are doing a lot of concepts that involve pressure and turning pressure off to teach them to have the appropriate behavior response to make training on advanced concepts easier. Perfect example being this down the shore concept. If we were taking a different route here, it would be very simple. Jake, the first time he goes to the bank, I want you to turn the collar up as high as it'll go, and I want you to see if he'll flip 3 times and then cast him back in the water. Did you ever hear me say anything even resembling that comment?
No, of course not.
That's my point, is that's what good fundamentals do, is they teach the dog to go, okay, you know what? I don't need to have this. I don't need to do this type of response. He told me no. That means get to the water, and that means have appropriate behavioral modification. It might be a no. It might be a nick. It might be a little bit higher nick, but it is not seeking to destroy will based off of the amount of pressure that you apply. And that's what good foundation work, that's what good fundamentals puts in place, is a dog that knows how to learn, knows how to change, so that it doesn't have to deal with huge corrections its whole life.
Right. Well, are we want to retire early for the evening?
Yes.
Yeah. I can see it in your eyes. I can see it in your eyes. I want to show you. Hold on. I just want to show you one picture. If I can find it real quick. This is pretty cool. That's Hammer and Hank. That's Tanner's dad.
Yes, indeed. Good look.
I thought that was pretty cool. I had Tyler send me a photo of him. Pretty cool. I think he's 13 or 14. Is that right?
That's pretty impressive. I mean, I knew he was on up there. He's throwing a lot of puppies and a lot of good dogs. Matter of fact, Hammer and Hank's Perfect Storm, owned by Jake Schmidt, is the youngest HRC Hall of Fame dog ever, and he is a Hammer and Hank puppy. And so he's, like I said, he's done a lot of good for the breed.
Well, I guess it's that time again. So again, let's reiterate, we're going to take next week off. I'm going to be in New York at a Bassmaster Elite event, and Stephen is going to be in Nebraska at an SRS. Stephen, best of luck to you. I hope you guys do well. I'm sure you will. Please tell everyone that I said hello, and have a safe trip to Nebraska and a very good SRS event. And thank you for all your time, your knowledge, and all your coaching ability.
We'll see y'all soon.
See you guys. Thank you, everybody.